In my last video, we met the Vigilant of Stendarr and learned the location of the Hall of the Vigilant. We find this hall southwest of Dawnstar, and if we come here before level 10, or before starting the Dawnguard questline, it will be full of vigilance. Upon entering, we see a woman named Keeper Karset.
Walk always in the light, or we will drag you to it.
Stendarr's mercy be upon you, for the Vigil has none to spare. I am the Keeper of the Vigil here in Skyrim. We bring Stendarr's mercy to the innocent, and his justice to the Daedra. Stendarr be with you.
And next to her, we see a letter to Keeper Karset. This starts the quest, Unholy Vigil. Karset, I've received your letter about the sudden disappearance of our patrols in the Pale. The news is troubling for sure. My old partner Fenric was among them, and he was not only a Vigil enforcer, but the finest warrior I knew. For him to be missing is no small thing, but perhaps fate has conspired for these events to happen, so that I may repay the life debt I owe him. I will leave for Dawnstar in the morning and take a room at the inn. If I learn anything, you will be the first to know. Stendarr's mercy be with you. Azarain. Before leaving, we can steal a Daedra heart if we want, and downstairs we find a map that the Vigilant were using to hunt, and a heavy armor skill book. Now if we come here after level 10 or after starting the Dawnguard questline, we find that the entire building has been burnt down. Outside, we see a dead Deathhound and a dead Vigilant of Stendarr. Inside, we see the ground is littered with the bodies of vampires, Deathhounds, and more Vigilants. And on a table, underneath the dead Vigilant, we find the letter to Keeper Karset. Interestingly, this building doesn't have a basement anymore. Now there's not much else here, so let's head to the Wind Peak Inn. In one of the rooms here, we find a mysterious note. Meet me at the Windward Ruins tonight. I have information. Come alone. We find these ruins a short walk away to the southwest. In the middle of the ruins, we find the body of Azarain, and on him, Azarain's journal. The investigation has been moving slowly, but that was to be expected. The townsfolk have their own problems, and few pay any mind to the fate of Stendarr's chosen. I will write what I've pieced together so far in hopes it provides some clarity. From what I've gathered, Fenric came to Dawnstar to investigate rumors of Daedra worship. There was some thought that this cult was the source of the town's recurrent nightmares, although it's unclear how much of that is true. Then one night, Fenric disappeared, without a word to the innkeeper or anyone in town. It was then that other patrols started to go missing, also without a trace. Of leads, I have one. The other day, the innkeeper found something curious behind the inn, in the midst of emptying the trash. It was an elven dagger, its blade warm with blood and upon further examination, tipped with poison. The craft of the blade can mean many things. Perhaps this Daedric cult is elven in origin. Moreover, elven weapons are fashioned from quicksilver, and there is a mine in close proximity. The poison too could have originated from a nearby source. It's also likely that our murderer moves at night, when the eyes of the town are blind to their heathen worship. As such, I suspect 3 individuals as possible owners of the blade. Vareth the elf, who complains of the cold and yet seems resolute in staying. Harold the miner, who works the ore from which the murder weapon was fashioned. Lastly, Irene the traveler, who seems to know more about alchemy than the proprietors of the pestle. All three seem to be active in the small hours, but I can only follow one at a time. Still, doing so will prove useful, as they will either lead me to their place of worship or eliminate themselves as suspects. But first, I must meet the writer of this note. Perhaps they know more about the dagger or have information that can narrow down my search. On his body, we also find a new set of armor called the Vigil Veteran Armor. This is a great set of armor, especially for early level characters. Now let's go investigate the three suspects.
You look worse than I feel.
Thanks, Carl.
Make it quick.
We don't find anything suspicious on Irene.
Make it quick.
Or on Verith. But on Harold, we find an elven dagger of fear and bloody rags. I'm pretty sure Harold is our murderer.
Batel thinks I drink on the job. Well, what does it matter if I do, huh?
If we follow Irene, we see her walk up into the mountains, and eventually she goes to pray at the shrine of Debella. And if we follow Verith, we see he goes to the lighthouse. Now if we follow Harold, he leads us into the Quicksilver mine. And he disappears behind a secret door. Here on the wall, we can push this button to open it. And as we go down, we see it. A Daedric Cult. This completes Unholy Vigil. On Fenric's body we find Fenric's journal. Azarain once told me I was the strongest warrior in all of Tamriel, but that is a lie. A strong man would have ended his life long ago. He would have delivered Stendarr's justice upon his soul. I am a weak man, and so I live. The Vigil teaches us that vampires are an abomination, to be destroyed without mercy. But in my cowardice, I began to entertain the blasphemous that vampirism had a cure. Never has the subject been broached by the Keepers. After all, the very idea that these creatures were capable of salvation would threaten the principles of the Order. So to learn more, I sought the aid of the very monster I have sworn to oppose. Molag Bal's price was steep. I was to gather thralls and build an altar deep in the mines of Dawnstar, for purposes that would only become clearer as the nights went on. To that shrine I was to sacrifice the lives of 9 of my brothers and sisters, 1 for each divine. At times my resolve was wavered, but the prince has offered proof in the form of Galar Rithari. His excerpts prove that a cure exists, through a dream of being sliced by thousands of tiny knives from my bowels inside out. As the town speaks of nightmares in the presence of Varmina, I now see why Dawnstar was chosen for this unholy vigil. With only 3 sacrifices left, the ritual is almost complete. No doubt Azarain will see this as treachery, which is why I cannot bring myself to sacrifice him. But with every vigil that dies at our hand, it only calcifies my resolve. The weakness of my mind does not betray the strength of my will. For all of my cowardice, I am worth the souls of a dozen men. If I rejoin the vigil, more lives will be saved in the end. Perhaps when the accounting is done, Stendarr will show me mercy. And on Fenric's body, we find the Vigil corrupted armor. This is a great set of armor, if we're willing to wear it. We don't find anything special on the thralls, but on Harold we find the miner's note. The door to the temple is finished. Look for 2 rugs and a crate at the far end of the mine. Walk down the shaft to the dead end. On your right should be a button. Press it and the door will open. And if we want, we can take the Vigil Enforcer's armor, which is another great set of armor. Looking around, we see the 6 vigilant bodies in coffins. Good thing we stopped them before they finished their ritual. On the right side of this cave, we find a table with Galarathari's papers, the book mentioned in Fenric's journal. We can take this if we want, and loot a chest here. On the other side of the cave, we see a gruesome scene. And under a table with body parts on it, we find notes on dissection. We were to leave the Vigilance for the ritual, but this one fought with the Silver Hand. It was not clear who his master was. After we fed, the master bade us to examine the body, to see what else we could learn of our condition. Bone anatomy seems largely unchanged. Blood and organ samples have been taken to the alchemist. The bite marks on the shoulders are curious. Need to rule out the possibility of werewolf contamination. And here we find another new set of armor called the Vigil Silver Hand armor. We can also craft all these armors at a forge now. And behind the table we see a burnt corpse, a pile of skulls, and a bucket of blood. Thanks Stendarr, we were able to stop this madness. This was the first time I ever found this quest, and I thought it was pretty fun, but a bit sad. But what did you think? Let me know in the comments, and thank you so much for watching.